I'm Ji Balai from Western University, and today we're going to talk about the Eclipse. We'll just give you a quick introduction to Eclipse. Eclipse is a integrated desktop environment for development and debugging. It can do a lot of things, and it supports a lot of programming languages. And so, if you're doing serious programming, I would strongly recommend you to go to the Eclipse website, and which I'll take you to the website in just a few moments, and download the Eclipse and give it a try. And today we will cover the following topics: to create a single project and run it, and to create a multi-file project, and to create a project and import your existing project files into an Eclipse project, and debugging C, C++ programs, debugging a Fortran program, and debugging programs in Mix, C, and Fortran program languages. And at the end, we'll talk a little bit about the future topics, what we can do with Eclipse in the future. So let me just take you to the website and go to the Eclipse website. This is the website. You might want to take a look at it. And if you're interested, and please go ahead and download Eclipse. In particular, you want to pick Eclipse Oxygen. This is the newest one, the latest one, and go to the download pages. And Eclipse is a GUI environment for the debugging, and it works for Linux, Windows, and the Mac OS. Okay, and this is perhaps this is the one of the few packages that work for all the operating systems. Now, while on this download page, you want to scroll it down to here. You want to pick this one, Eclipse for Parallel Application Developers. And if you click that, that will give you this package include everything, and for C, C++, Fortran, and it can even do debugging for MPI, OpenMP, OpenACC, which is compiler directive approach for accelerators. But we're not going to cover the parallel debugging, and we're just going to talk about the basics, what you can do with Eclipse today. So if you click that, and you can actually go and download the Eclipse for your favorite operating system. Eclipse is installed on Sharcnet system. However, if you want to get the latest one, you would have to install the latest one, the Oxygen, by yourself. The installation of Eclipse is very straightforward, but you do need an extra support, which is a Java 8 support, before you can install the package. You download the Eclipse to your home account, and then make sure that you have Java 8 support or running. If you're not, and I would suggest you to go to Sharcnet website. Before you get started, go to Sharcnet website and go to Support, Wiki, Help, and then you look for Java, because you will need Java. Okay, so you landed on this page, Java, open JDK, and read this page and see how you can get the Java 8 and switch to Java, and how to switch to Java 8 if by default you're running a Java 7. Okay, so you need to have a Java 8 installed and running in your home account, and before you can install Eclipse. The installation of Eclipse is pretty straightforward. It doesn't give you any hiccup and just go from beginning to the end without asking a question. Okay, very easy to install. Let me get back to the desktop environment. Now here, I logged into a remote system, VDI CentOS 6. Okay, VDI CentOS 6. I connected VDI CentOS 6 from my desktop using a Tiger VNC, and I already installed the latest Eclipse on my in my account. So all I need is just go to the directory that have the Eclipse installed and start Eclipse. Now the first thing it will ask you where to put the workspace. This is where the Eclipse will store some necessary files and the registries for all your projects. So by default, it will create a directory called Eclipse-workspace, but you can pick any other name or any other location if you want, and then you click launch. In a few moments, Eclipse the desktop will come up. So you should see this layout on your left. This is the project listing, nothing. And in the middle, this will be your editing area. At the bottom here is has the consoles and a few other things we'll see. And on the right, and we have an outline and some other stuff. So the first thing, we want to create a new project and go to File, New, and I want to make a new project. Now I'm going to make a new C++ project, and I'll just choose a C++ project. Click that, and now I have an option: C manage build and the C++ manage build. I choose the C++ and click next. Now it asks you again what tool chains you want to use. So by default, it already selected that's a Linux GCC, and the other option is IBM. So you don't want to touch that. You want to keep the Linux GCC. And the top, you want to give a project name. Let me call it EX0, exercise 0, and then click next. And by default, the two folders will be created. One is for debug and one is for release. And they are all pre-selected. And so I do select all and do finish. Okay, so now I have a project created, but there's nothing in it. It creates directory includes, but the first thing I want to do is I want to create a source file. I start from scratch. So go back to File, New, and scroll it down, Source File. Like a source file. The source file name, let me call it CPP. This is the source file name, and the finish. In a few moments, a template it's created. And then I start typing and put the my source code in, and this will be just very simple, a toy example. Okay, just to save time, and I'm going to just copy things over. Okay, so I copied things over, created the source code, And okay, there's some error mistake here. Okay, so I have this code finished, but I need to do a few changes here. Because while I'm typing, you see there's a bug error icon shows up here. It tells me what's wrong, or suggests something goes wrong. So I'm just fixing it. Fix that. Fix that. And here, there, and save it. And okay, so once I saved it, those bug icons disappear. Now the code is clean. Now the next, I'm going to compile it. So I go to this icon, build icon. If you talk about build icon, there are two options by default. It's debug. So before I do before I compile and run it, I also do debug first. So click a debug, and then start the build. To compile the program, it says there's something wrong. Right. Compile again. Oops. There's an extra thing at line 32. So correct that. Build again. Okay. So it's being compiled, and now we're going to run debug mode. I click a debug. Here's the bug icon. Click that. Now it asks me whether this is a C++ application or Fortran application. I just pick C++. Okay. And in a few moments, this dialog window comes up and asks me, do you want to switch to a debug perspective? Right now, I am in the editing perspective, and I click a yes. So it changed the view, changed the layout. You see, I still have this source code open, and I have a console on the at the bottom, and a debugger console. And on the right-hand side here, the right top, we have a list of variables that will help us to examine the value of those variables. So in the top, we have a number of buttons, and the green button to start. And we want to have step into, step over. We want to do a step by step. So right now is start the program is right here. It's not at the beginning of the program, not yet. So let's go step over. So by the way, this program does calculate the factorial. Given the integer, it will calculate the factorial. So if I give a 4, the factorial will be 24, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let me do step over. So it comes to the next line, and step over. It asks me to enter something. Let's say 6. I type 6 in, and step over. Back to debug console, and step over, continue. Now, while we're continue, we see that the value of the variable n and the value and the val on the top right. Okay, continue. It's done. So now in the end, it says the factorial 6 is 0. Apparently, this is wrong. So now I want to find out why it's wrong. So we stop. We stop and go back to the source code. We want to set a breakpoint. There's a breakpoint here. You move your mouse pointer. You double click the side of the line you want to stop, and also I want to stop right here as well, and maybe stop here as well, and restart the debugging mode again. Click debug. Then I want to run, and then type in 6, and I continue. It stopped. So I want to go back. Restart. Okay, I want to add a breakpoint here, and then run. Type in number 6. It stopped right here, and I want to go inside, and let's look at the change of the value changes. Now you see the result, and the change in the value of the result. Now it becomes 0. So there is a problem in the function. The function is wrong. So how do we fix it? If you look at it here, at the end, this n, the last update, x minus minus, it becomes 0. And then the next iteration, all your effort went to the toilet because the n becomes 0. You get it, 0 return. So that's why we need to fix this problem. So first we stop this, and we go back to editing view. So we want to change this. We want to modify this a bit. Modify this a bit. So we know what's wrong, and we save it, and we debug. Build. Now it's built, and I go back to debug mode, and we want to run it. Now this time, let's just run from beginning till the end. We type a 6, and continue. Now this time it's correct. Okay, this just shows you how to debug a very simple program. Now, in this example, I create a project. I create a new project. Let me get back to the editing mode. I create a new project, and then I create a new source file. And then I compile the file and do debug. Now, what if you have an existing file and you want to debug? And you can do that as well. Let me just get back to Eclipse again. Let me show you something else. Okay, I switched to another Eclipse that I already opened. Now I want to create a new project. I want to create a new project, and this new project is let's call it. It's a new project. And it's a C project. That's called a C project. And it's a GCC, and now I'm switching to Windows. I'm running this demo on Windows now. And as I said, Eclipse runs on both Linux, Windows, and Windows, and as well it runs on the Mac OS. I gave it a name, project name. I'm just going through the same procedure, and that's called exercise 1. And click Finish. And so do you want to open this perspective now? I said yes. All right. So open up. Now open this new project. There's nothing in it. Now this time I want to add the new files in. I want to bring in all the existing file into this project. I just created a project as an empty project, a shell, and then I want to just bring in, and I'll copy all the existing files that I did before and into this project. Okay. I go to command line and demo. Now, if I go to directory 0, for instance, well, this is the one I just created. Let's examine the file structure of this project. Now you see I have two directories in it. And the first is the debug, and the second is release. And I have the single source file I just created over there. If you want to take a look at the content of the debug. Now, inside the debug, I have a few make files. And these make files were automatically generated by Eclipse. If you want to take a look at what they look like, just go inside and take a look at the make file. And this is it looks quite a complicated make file. But the most important file is the last one, subdir.make. Take a look at that one. This one actually specifies how the source code will be compiled. And this looks more like what you have. But now, let's back to the empty project I just created, which is one. Now, this is there's nothing in it, but I want to copy my own file in. So this time, I want to copy existing file. I already have the files there. Now, I want to copy this existing file into this new project. So now I have the source code in. Now, if you look at under the new project I just created, EX1, still there's nothing in it except for include. The include is not a real file or folder. This is the Eclipse system file. It doesn't show up there in the actual folder. And now remember, I just copied the source file into this folder, so I want to do a refresh. Now you see this is the file, this is the source code is there. So if I double click, I open this file is open. Okay, so this is how you can bring in your existing projects managed by in other ways. You might have many files rather than just a single file. Okay. This example just shows how you can create a project and bring in your other existing source code and source file. Okay. So let's move on and to look at the third example, exercise 2. Now, in this example, this is a little bit different. I have a single file. Let me just close this and double click. This a single file has I put quite a bit of a code in it. And let me just scroll down a bit. I define some data structure and the macros and function prototypes, and then the main program. What this program does is it just does a matrix multiplication, a very simple toy example. So I create this data structure called a matrix underscore T. By the way, in the real life, you will never do that. This is just purely for the demo purpose. You should make use of existing libraries or C++ templates, but this is a C example. So I defined this data structure, matrix type, and then I define a whole bunch of functions to create a matrix object, and matrix free a matrix object, and create a random matrix and do a matrix multiplication, and get a data, get a handle to the data portion of the matrix, and set the value to the matrix, and so on and so forth. And here's the main program. And this main program, it takes command line arguments, the value from command line, and then from the command line, I just set the matrix size for A, B, and C, and the create a matrix A, create a matrix B, and then set the value for A and B, and then call this function matrix matmul that does the matrix A multiplication of A and B and generate the new matrix C. And that's it. Now I want to compile this matrix. Sorry, compile this program. Do debug, compile. All right, that's fine. It's just a warning message. I ignored the executable. The binary is already created, and then I go to debug mode, and this is exercise 2. It doesn't have exercise 2. If I click, and this is a new one. It's a C++ application, and I click OK. Oh, okay, let me just skip just a single file for a moment. Let's continue. Instead of having a single file project, you can have multiple files in a project as well. So in this next example, I have a number of files, and the main program, I basically just separate the definitions, the header files from definitions, and separate from the main program, and put them into a header file. And also I put some functions that I created into a separate file called matfun.c, and another file as well. So I based on according to the purpose of the functionality of those C functions, I put them, I save them in different files, and I have a standalone main program. The main program is clean. It doesn't have any other definition or functions except for the main function from beginning till the end. That's it. So it doesn't contain anything else. So you can have everything in a single project, and the Eclipse will build for you. It will generate the make files for you automatically. So in this case, I want to go do a debug again, and let me just close out the other stuff. So you create, it builds, and the Eclipse generates the make files. If you click this, and then you will see there are a number of make files, make file, and some other .mk files. These are the make files that will be included in this make file, and the object files are created inside the debug directory. Okay, the source files are in just right under the project. Now, once we build, then we can go here, and we'll do. Of course, this is wrong. Something that's not found. Okay. Now, seems like we have a problem with the with this Eclipse. Okay, now, and as well, the next example, I can put the multiple files in. We can put multiple files in a same project, but as well, we can have a different files written in different languages in the same project. In this example, this is a mixed language. So I have the main programs is written in Fortran. The main programs are written in Fortran, and there are some other functions. And inside the Fortran, it calls matrix print, and this matrix print is written in C. It's one of the functions in those functions. Okay, so this project has a mixed language files. So Eclipse can also can recognize these different files in different languages, and generate appropriate make files for you automatically. So before it will build, I just close those files and just leave the main program open, and go to project and go to clean, and I do clean, and then I go back here and go to build. Now it built, and as you can see, the last one, and it's calling a Fortran to generate an executable. Let's see if this executable is ready. It's not ready, and it's a Fortran program. Let's go OK. Now, it asked me whether I want to go to debug mode. I say yes. Now I am in the debug mode, and again, it complains because I got multiple files, and which file I want to look at, the source file, the locate file. So I click that, and I want to go back to demo, and we're looking at example 4. And main file open. Okay, now we are in the debug mode, and while looking at the source code main.f90, we can start debugging. This is in the debug mode, debug console. It points to the very first line of my Fortran program. So we're going to just go, now this time, let's go, let's run from beginning till the end. Because I said, okay, here, it will stop at a breakpoint, which I already set right here. And then I do step over, so step by step. Now, while we are stepping through, on the right-hand side top here, you see the list of the variables. You can examine the value of variables A, B, C, and those values are K, M, N. Okay. And as well, if you go back to the debugger console, if you type, let's say you want to examine the value of a particular variable, let's say M, it will show M is 5, because 5 is a set in the 5. And the next one, I want to print A, the first, that's a matrix A, that's a two-dimensional, let's say the first element, that shows the first element. If I want to print the entire one, let's see if I can actually print the entire array. Yes, it will print the entire array. Okay, that's give you a lot of convenience for looking at the variables in different way. You can either type the variable names in the debugger console, or you can examine the values here in the variable list area. Okay. Let's continue. Back here, we're not done yet. So let's just step through and continue. And now it's finished. Okay, so it's done. Let's get back to the project view or the editor view by clicking right at the top. Now we switch to the project editing view, and let's close this window. Close this window. Now we're looking at this main program. This main program right now here, it can take command line argument. Okay, can take a command line arguments that set the sizes of matrices. Now, how do we run a program in the debug mode with command line arguments? And here's how we go. Here's how we do it. We go to debug configuration, and pick this one here. This is the one. This one corresponds to EX4. Right, highlight this one. And then we click the second tab, arguments. Okay, second type arguments. Now, this is a time for us to type in the arguments, the command line arguments. Now, my program will go back to my main program. My main program can take up to 3 arguments for the matrix sizes. So let's get back here to configuration and highlight. Oops, sorry, too fast. Stop. Go back. Go to debug config, click, and highlight this, and click the tab arguments, and put in first one, 8 rows and 3 columns. This is the first matrix. The second matrix will be 3 by 5. Okay, so 3 arguments, and then apply, and then run debug. And then we switch to the debug mode. Switch to debug mode, and we want to just run from beginning till the end. Now this time we just go step through, step over, step over, step over, step over. Now it's done. So now this time we change the matrix sizes by passing command line arguments in. Next, let me show. Okay, so we just seeing the mixed program. Let me show you the very last one. Last example. This will be something unique to Fortran. Click the one already created. This is the last one. Just close the previous code. So this Fortran code I just copied from the internet. This example shows how you can access array inside a subroutine in the debug mode. Okay, how you can examine the content of an array that are passed to a subroutine, and you examine that array from inside the subroutine. Okay, so this is the main program. The main program calls 2 subroutines, a foo and a bar, and the foo and a bar are in this program. Okay, and the foo passes in 4 arrays into the subroutine. The arrays are passed into the subroutine as assumed with the assumed shape. That's a Fortran concept. When you pass in an array object into a subroutine, and you can tell the program the shape of the array. And this is something unique to in Fortran. C or C++ don't have that yet. And the second subroutine bar is simply just passes a array into the subroutine, while the shape of the array is unknown. And let's say in these two cases, how we can examine the array from inside the subroutine. That's the purpose of this this example. So before we do anything, let's go back to the build. We want to go build a debug. Okay, so it's built. And we'll come back here and the debug as. Now we want debug as a Fortran application. Let's click OK. And it asks me whether I want to switch to debug mode. I say yes. Now this is a little bit annoying, and it couldn't find the located file, which source file I want to look at, because I have multiple files. So let's say I just want to specify main. I want to look at the main. Okay, so I just want to keep the main open. That's what I want. And okay, this is the main program, and I want to. I set up two breakpoints at the entry to foo and the bar, so I can stop and then step into the subroutine and examine the arrays. So let's just get started, and I click this run button. It will stop at the first breakpoint. Allocate, that's fine. Let's continue. Okay, so now we're in foo. Let's go inside. Now we go inside. Now we're switching from the main program into the subroutine. And in the meantime, you notice that we switched from the main source code from one main.f90 into a different file. This is very convenient. Okay, so now we're here, and then we just step through. Okay, we stop right here. Now let's do something interesting, and we click debugger console. You can type anything in debug console. Now, Fortran allows you, in the debug mode, allows you to print the entire array. Okay, so let's print bar to see what the values the bar has. Oops. Bar, that's a typo. Bar. So if I type a P for short for print the array name, then it will return the entire array. This is very handy. This is very handy for you to examine what has been passing to subroutine. Okay, this is very good. And the last one is a pointer. This is the Fortran thing. Also, it prints the content of the pointer. Okay. Now let's continue. Let's continue, and we come to the next stop point. This is the call to bar. Call to bar. Let's step into the subroutine bar. So now we're in here. If we switch it here, now notice that we're passing this entire array into the subroutine, but without knowing the shape. Okay, and then we switch right here, and then we'll go back to debugger. Now let's print. In here, the name is A. Inside subroutine, name is A. If I type print A, guess what happened? Uh-oh. It gives me a number that I cannot recognize. Now, you have to pay attention for those for Fortran programs. In order to print the content of a regular array, not without the shape, without assume the shape, you have to do something like this. You want to do from the beginning. This is, and then this is the syntax. You want to print 10 elements. That's how you do it. The first print A, that gives you print A1. That gives you the starting point, and for this many elements. Okay, so if we type P A from third element, and for 5, sorry, again 10, then it will print the 10 elements starting from 3. Okay, so this is this example shows how you can examine the content of an array without a shape passed to a subroutine. This applies to, especially applies to subroutines written in the old style, written in like a Fortran 77 or pre-modern Fortran, and you want to debug, and because the shape is not defined, the shape is not passed into the shape. In this case, the shape is not defined. There's no shape information, so you won't be able to print out the content. However, the other subroutine foo, it has shape. It has the shape information. This is a different. But again, this is the details in Fortran programming language. We won't go into more details. I think I should stop right here, and I'll leave some time for a couple of questions. Before I stop, I will just say a few things. First, Eclipse can be used for debugging many other languages, not just limited to C, C++, Fortran. And also, you can use Eclipse for debugging a parallel programs written in MPI or OpenMP or OpenACC, which is for accelerators. And now, yeah, we're not going to cover that. We didn't cover that. And in the future, we're perhaps going to cover that, and as well how to debug by attaching Eclipse to running programs.